When you think of higher education, you probably picture, well, centuries of tradition, right? Grand old buildings, lecture halls, but what if I told you those very institutions are facing this wave of profound change, especially in how they support students with specific learning difficulties? We're talking about things like dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, ADHD, conditions that actually affect roughly 10% of the population, quite a chunk. So our mission in this deep dive is to explore five really distinct potential futures for SPLD assessment, specifically in UK higher education. And we're doing it through this fascinating lens. It's called metamodernism. It sounds complicated, but think of it like a pendulum constantly swinging, not picking one side, but finding strength in that dynamic tension between structure and freedom, maybe. Why this matters for you is that, well, it helps us move beyond maybe outdated thinking to embrace complexity and find some genuinely innovative solutions.
Exactly. We're looking for what the report we're digging into calls a protosynthesis.
Rotosynthesis, okay.
Yeah, it basically means we're not just, patching up old systems. We're trying to thoughtfully design new ones, right from the ground up, making sure your unique learning journey is truly supported, not just sort of accommodated after the fact. It's about building adaptive frameworks, really understanding neurodivergent learners.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack the current situation then, because the report calls it a system in flux, caught between that modernist drive for, standardization, formal assessments, guidelines from bodies like SASE, BPS for things like disabled students allowance.
Right, the rules and boxes approach.
And then this postmodern recognition of individual experience, it's trying to find its footing, it feels like.
Yeah, and the crucial point here, the real snag, is the disconnect. What works for identification in schools often clashes directly with what universities need for diagnosis. So it creates this fragmentation. Feels like a postcode lottery for getting support. Depends where you are, what school you went to. Plus, the evidence for tech support helping, it's still described as like embryonic, patchy, and lacks consistency. So hit or miss, really.
Okay, so that's the problem space. But what's really transformative, I think, about this report is how it embraces the neurodiversity paradigm.
Yeah.
Which doesn't see these conditions as deficits, right? But as naturally occurring cognitive variation, different ways of thinking. And it pushes for compassionate pedagogies, teaching methods designed with empathy and universal design for learning.
Which means building environments from the start that include everyone.
Exactly. Rather than just adding bolt-on provisions, like accommodations tacked on later. So with this fresh perspective, how might higher education actually change? The report lays out a few very different pictures, scenarios for the future. First up, augmented assessment and personalized pathways. Sounds pretty optimistic.
It is.
It imagines AI and VR really shaking up assessment, like AI-powered diagnosis, adaptive testing that changes based on your answers, and even a secure digital passport for your assessment records. Maybe using blockchain, ensuring information just flows seamlessly when you move institutions.
That does sound incredibly efficient and promises a lot more personalization for you.
Yeah.
But connecting it to the bigger picture, you have to ask, right?
What's the catch?
Well, where does the human element fit in? Are we okay with tech driving your educational support? There are genuine worries about data privacy, algorithmic bias.
Yeah. Yeah, important questions. But what if things don't improve? What if the system doesn't really evolve? That brings us to a less optimistic scenario: fragmented evolution and persistent disconnects.
The muddle through future, perhaps.
Kind of, yeah. In this version, those disconnects we talked about, they just persist.
Yeah.
New tech might pop up, but universities adopt it inconsistently. And masking, that's when students feel they have to hide their difficulties to fit in. That would continue. Delaying diagnosis, delaying support. The focus stays on just fixing deficits.
It really begs the question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the cost of inaction? For you as a student, this scenario paints a picture of ongoing inequalities, ongoing inefficiencies, just holding people back.
Right. So the report then pivots. It offers a more maybe balanced path, one that uses that metamodern oscillation idea. They call it integrated human-centric design. And it's not just one single path. It's like three strategies working together. First, policy oscillation for protosynthesis. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
But it means creating a national strategy that embraces a both-and approach, aligning how students are identified across schools, universities, even health services, using interoperable frameworks.
Which just means common ways for different systems to talk to each other. What's key here is it's collaborative. Not rigid top-down rules, but common data standards, common transfer protocols. The goal is seamless transitions for you as you move through your education. Less hassle, better continuity.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the second part is cultivating informed naivety in practice. Sounds a bit strange. Informed naivety.
It does, but it's about approaching support with an open mind. Challenging old assumptions like you're seeing it fresh, but always grounding it in solid research.
So shifting from fixing you to helping you flourish, it means redesigning assessment feedback to actually highlight your strengths, co-creating support strategies with you, not just for you, empowering you with self-advocacy skills.
Exactly. This really brings the human element back to the center, making the whole experience more empathetic, more empowering for you, focusing on potential.
And the final piece of this integrated picture, investing in multi-layered developmental research and technology integration. This means serious long-term research, like using the National Pupil Database to really understand SPLDs over time. And then strategically investing in tech solutions, but properly evaluating them too.
Making sure any tech advances are actually evidence-based.
Yeah.
And genuinely integrated into how things work, not just bolted on again.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean? The big takeaway seems to be that the future of SPLD assessment, well, it isn't predetermined. It's going to be shaped by choices made now. And that metamodern lens, it suggests we need to move beyond simple either thinking, embrace the complexity, the messiness.
Yeah, and it leads us with a question for you, the listener. How might this idea of oscillation, balancing seemingly opposite ideas, how might that apply in your own life or your learning, especially where you feel maybe stuck between two extremes? And thinking about all this, what kind of educational environment would truly empower you to thrive? Something to think about.